Hello, this morning it's Miss Patty from Samuel's Public Library. We're doing story time online because of concerns for the virus COVID. So we're hopeful that it'll be better soon and we'll be back together in person. But we thought we would have a few stories that you could listen to today. And my theme for today is about books. Imagine that at the library, books. So we have a few special books to read together. And the first book has to do with Mr. Piggy. And he was very eager to be here to listen to the story about a hog. So I'm going to put Mr. Piggy down so we can listen. And this first book is called The Book Hog by Greg Pizzoli. And this little special sticker means it's an award winner. So it is a good book. The Book Hog. The Book Hog loved books. Do you love books? Miss Patty does too. And he had quite a few. Look at all those books. I have a lot of books, but I don't think I have that many. Not as many as Mr. Hog. He loved the way they smelled and the way the pages felt in his hooves. He especially liked the ones with pictures. He picked them up here and there. Sometimes you get books at a yard sale. And anywhere he could find them. This is Wilbur's Books. So, a special bookstore. But the Book Hog had a secret. Shh. A big secret. I wonder what it is. He didn't know how to read. He had never learned. Maybe you're learning to read. He was surrounded by books, but the Book Hog couldn't read a single one. The Book Hog went to bed every night without a bedtime story. It's kind of sad. One morning he went out looking for more books. He came to a long, low building and he smelled books inside. What do you think? That's kind of a clue, those letters, but that might be. He snuck through the stacks, adding several books to his pile. Yeah. But then a soft voice said, "Would you like to join us for story time?" It was Miss Olive, the librarian. "Pick out a book and I'll read with you." The Book Hog blinked. Then he swallowed. "You'll read a book with me?" "Of course," said Miss Olive. "As many as you'd like." This gave the Book Hog an idea. "Wait here," he said. He went home on a special motorcycle. And he came back, oh my, with some books. Miss Olive led story time and the Book Hog listened closely. He heard many stories, some funny, some sad, some kind of in between. Over time and with practice, the Book Hog learned to read on his own. That is wonderful. He grew to love books even more, not just for the way they looked and felt, but for the stories they told. I bet you have some favorites. And yes, the Book Hog still takes a lot of books. But he always brings them back. Good job. The end. That's pretty funny, Mr. Book Hog. So I wanted to tell you about our winter reading program. So if you haven't had a chance to sign up, we have these great bags with special things in it, including a reading log and a prize. And when you read books each week or have them read to you, we have all kinds of prizes like slime and puppets. Yep, all kinds of little puppets and all kinds of other fun prizes. So I hope you can come in and make sure you're signed up and get prizes for the books that you're reading. I have another book that I think is pretty nifty. And this title is The Book Tree by Paul Kazak. This is a very creative book, just saying. The Book Tree. Nestled in the branches of a tree, Arlo opened his book and breathed in. Beginnings were always the best part. They smelled as if anything were possible. Do you see Arlo in the tree with his special book? Bonk. Uh-oh. I'm sorry, Mayor. I got lost in my book and it slipped. Preposterous. Books are dangerous. I don't trust them. They act like seeds which grow into ideas and ideas turn into questions. I will tell you what you need to know. First, the mayor gathered every book in the library and every book in the whole town, and then he tore them up until all that was left was a single page that floated away in a passing breeze. Imagine that. Arlo chased the page as it blew across town. It reminded him of a dandelion seed drifting on a wish. When it landed, the muddy earth swallowed it letter by letter until it too was gone. Arlo thought that perhaps the mayor was right. After all, he'd been elected mayor. He must know something. But without books, Arlo noticed changes wherever he looked. At school, teachers had nothing to read, so story time became nap time. Without cookbooks, restaurants served only dry cereal. No one went to the theater since actors had nothing to act out. And in the place Arlo loved most, all the shelves were empty. That's the library. That would be crazy. Can you imagine? Arlo sat where the last page was buried. He missed the crack and creak of a book's spine the first time you open it. He longed for the smell and crisp texture of a book's pages. But most of all, he missed getting lost in an epic adventure. Sadly, Arlo scratched 2 words into the dirt. Endings were the worst part of any book. The end. But as he stared at the words, they grew into an idea. Arlo sat with pencil and paper and let his ideas flow. What is he writing? He read his stories out loud and to anyone who passed by, but no one stopped to listen. Then Arlo heard something, a sound he thought he'd never hear again, that familiar crack and creak. What is that sound? When Arlo looked for the source of the sound, he saw a sprout springing from where the page had been buried. It began to open its leaves. It reached for Arlo's words, begging for more. With every story Arlo wrote and read aloud, the sprout grew. Arlo wrote a story about a giant, and the tree grew tall, stretching for the clouds. He wrote about a fire-breathing beast, and its branches became strong as a dragon's claws. He wrote about a magical swan made of paper, and blooms of tissue paper blossomed into books. That is wonderful. When the books were ripe, Arlo climbed into the branches of the book tree and breathed deeply, enjoying the fruits of his harvest. While Arlo read, a friend stopped under the tree. "I'm bored. There's nothing to do." "You could try reading," Arlo said. "Is that a book?" "Yep. Here. I love this story," Arlo said, giving her a hand up into the tree. The two shared the shady spot. Soon, flocks of readers rooted on the limbs. Books spread through the town like pollen in the wind. People grew hungry for reading again. Some wrote their own stories and became book gardeners themselves. Every fiery maples blossomed with picture books. Willows wept with poetry, and fruit trees filled with cookbooks. They flourished. As the trees grew, the town blossomed. The mayor, lost in his mayor work, was oblivious to all the changes. That is, until a ripe book fell on his head. Bonk. The mayor kicked and stomped. "Who planted those trees?" "You did, sir," Arlo said. "When you tore up the books, it planted an idea." "Impossible. This is the second time my head is hurting because of a book. The trees have got to be cut down." "But we've become a town of books and stories. You can't cut them down." The mayor walked the streets of the town. He gorged himself at one of the five-star restaurants, caught a show in the park, and lost himself in a story about a boy fishing for a whale in a puddle. "Books did all of this?" the mayor asked, astonished. "No," Arlo said, as he handed the mayor a freshly picked story. The book was just the seed. Isn't that a fun story about all the places books can take you and all the ideas that are in them? That's fun. Thank you so much for listening. I have one more story for you. I wanted to tell you about, in case you had not heard, about our story walk at Easton Park near the river. And this story is laid out so you can walk at the river and read it. or have someone read you each of the pages. And when you're done, you can come to the library and we have a craft that goes with The Snowy Day by Ezra Jack Keats. Our current special book at the Story Walk, and I thought I would read it here to you as well. The Snowy Day. We've had a lot of snowy days, haven't we? I hope you've had fun out there. I have. One winter morning, Peter woke up and looked out the window. Snow had fallen during the night. It covered everything as far as he could see. That's always a magical surprise, isn't it? Because it's so quiet. It surprises you. After breakfast, he put on his snowsuit and ran outside. The snow was piled up very high along the street to make a path for walking. All the trucks that plow, they make all these great snow hills and mountains, don't they? Crunch, 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 his feet sank into the snow. He walked with his toes pointing out like this, kind of like a duck. He walked with his toes pointing in like that. Then he dragged his feet slowly to make tracks. And he found something sticking out of the snow that made a new track. It was a stick. A stick that was just right for smacking a snow-covered tree. Down fell the snow, plop, on top of Peter's head. There he goes. Can follow his tracks. He thought it would be fun to join the big boys in their snowball fight, but he knew he wasn't old enough. Not quite yet. So he made a smiling snowman. Have you gotten a chance to make a snowman with all the snow we've had? And he made angels. Those are very fun. He pretended he was a mountain climber. He climbed up a great big, tall, heaping mountain of snow and slid all the way down. Very fun. The sky looks like it's going to snow some more, doesn't it? He picked up a handful of snow and another and still another. He packed it round and firm and he put the snowball in his pocket for tomorrow. Then he went into his warm house. He told his mother all about his adventures while she took off his wet socks. And he thought and thought and thought about them. In the warm tub. Before he got into bed, he looked in his pocket. His pocket was empty. The snowball wasn't there. He felt sad. What happened to the snowball? It's too warm and it melted, right? Next time, maybe he'll put it in the freezer. While he slept, he dreamed that the sun had melted all the snow away. But when he woke up, his dream was gone. The snow was still everywhere, and new snow was falling. Just like we have. After breakfast, he called to his friend from across the hall, and they went out together into the deep, deep snow. It's always fun to play outdoors with a special friend. The end. All the snowflakes. So I had a little craft idea, and I have these little bags for you to glue Peter and make a little story out of the cotton balls. And this is what I turned it into. And Peter can go walking, do different things. You could add a stick. Remember, he took his stick and smacked the tree of all the snow. You could give Peter a stick in the little craft too, and other things. Maybe make a snowman out of the cotton balls. So I hope you can come in and get your very own craft of Peter in the snow on this snowy day. So I'm happy that we had this time together, and I hope you are well and stay well, and come into the library, say hello, and sign up for our book club and get prizes. Take care. Bye-bye.